Well, we've all heard the saying before, honesty is the best policy. For one retired banker, that saying proved to be pivotal when he did the right thing as a teenager. Our Allie Martin has the story of the banker whose honesty has brought opportunity to his family. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, cut.
As Billy Bolton was at the ribbon cutting for Community Spirit Bank of Fulton, he couldn't help but think back to a time when, as a teenager, he had a decision to make during a basketball game at Red Bay High School.
Of course, I was raised poor over in the country and didn't have any money, and Mr. Flippo, who ran the bank at that time, he and his wife were sitting in front of me, and my friends, about 3 other friends and myself, were sitting on the top bleacher, and he dropped a $20 bill down under the bleachers and would not go after it. Nobody went after it, so I went after it with the intention of keeping that $20 bill. But when I got back in the bleachers, I couldn't keep it, and I handed it to him, and he thanked me for it.
A few years later, Billy Bolton was married, and he got a call from Mr. Flippo offering him a job at the bank as a teller. About a week later, he accepted the offer, although he had no banking experience. Billy Bolton worked hard, learning about the banking business, and one day, about 6 years after he'd been hired, he was called into Mr. Flippo's office.
He said, "Billy, did I ever tell you why I hired you?" I said, "No, I always wanted to know. I've always been inquisitive about that." He said, "Do you remember being at a basketball game several years ago, and you went on the bleachers and got the $20 bill and gave it back to me?" I said, "Well, I'd forgotten it, but yes, I remember it now." He said, "That's the reason I hired you."
Billy Bolton made a career out of banking, working his way up to president and CEO before retiring. He is now chairman of the board, and the Bank of Red Bay changed its name some years ago to Community Spirit Bank. Billy's son Brad followed in his dad's footsteps and is now president and CEO of the bank. Brad Bolton says the story of his dad's honest decision has impacted many people.
Dad calls that story honesty paying off, and he's shared it with all of we 3 kids, as well as all of our kids, which is his grandkids and great-grandkids will hear that story. That really it is about doing what's right when nobody's watching, and that's the truest definition of integrity.
Community Spirit Bank has 6 locations and $180 million in assets. Brad Bolton says his dad's story resonates with all employees.
My dad is a great Christian man that has instilled that in each of us and our entire organization, and that's how we try to live our lives and how we try to serve our customers on each and every occasion.
I did what was right, and looking back, the Lord took care of me. And took care of my family.
In Fulton, Allie Martin, WCBI News.
All right, and that's a great story. Although he's retired, Billy Bolton still goes to the bank every day to help around the office.